Alright, so welcome to this video. This video is essentially what's a day in my classroom look like. Now, we'll start with a bit of an intro. An intro is that I'm Pete Whiting, and I'm a science slash chemistry teacher in high school in Australia, in New South Wales, and I about 6 years ago, maybe a bit longer at this point, probably not, whatever, it doesn't matter, we started experimenting with the flipped classroom, or the flipped learning, my teaching buddy and I. And it worked really well, right? Like, it kind of nailed that sort of exactly what I want teaching to be. I moved from this lecture style, which was really necessary, I guess, particularly in the early years of my teaching career. I moved this sort of lecture style lesson to getting down and helping out the kids, and it made me happy. Like, I was just, and to be fair, to be really honest, initially it was quite selfish. It was all about me, but well, not really. Like, there was other reasons for it, but I enjoyed it. It was a lot of work, and the kids enjoyed it. The kids got so much more out of it, and by knowing those kids better, which I did, I was able to help them more. I was able to recognize problems. I was able to all sorts of stuff. But you know what? If you're here looking at what a day in the classroom looks like for me with my gamified class, you probably know this stuff already, right? Like, you might be aware of what flipped learning is. But basically, the kids prep at home, and we lose the chalk and talk stuff. It's still there, it's just done at home. It's sort of time shifted into the individual space. And we use that group space, that sort of classroom time, to work through higher order thinking, higher order problems, and really getting to test out what the kids do and don't know. And build on that knowledge. So we were flipping for a while, and we're really happy with what we were doing. And then we wanted to get into mastery. So that moved us to stage 2. Now, we didn't do a straight mastery class. We went to gamification or game-based learning, sort of a combination of the two. They're just slightly different things, but that doesn't matter. And we really lent on my RPG and my teaching buddies' RPG history, like our sort of role-playing game. And like, for me it was all Dungeons and Dragons. For him it was all it was more of a video game sort of thing. But we lent on that sort of that understanding to move to this sort of gamification, to use story-based learning essentially. So that's the game-based learning as well as gamification, which we've put a lot of those mechanics into it. So what does it look like? Well, it doesn't really look like this. I'm yet to dress up. I'm yet to even dress up as a famous scientist or chemist from the past. But I do see my classroom with me as the sort of the dungeon master that runs the whole thing. But I mean, I saw that anyway. Like, that's not a new thing. So what it really looks a bit like is more of that sort of tree of knowledge aspect of gamification, like a choose your own adventure. Yeah. So we achieve mastery by giving students the choice, but also giving them the time to work at their own pace. And because students are working at their own pace, they, some are ahead of others, some have gone off on a side path that's still, like any game, it's within the bounds of the game, but they choose their own path, and they need to master it before they move on, just like any game. And that was sort of the tipping point for us, where we went, okay, we see how gamification works. Essentially, it's just mastery with, a bit of the sweet sauce on top that makes it kind of a bit more awesome. So we moved to mastery using knowledge trees, and yeah, students need to show mastery before they get to move on. In other words, before you beat a level, you have to be able to beat that level. And there's various ways to do it. They can, they can pass a test. Sometimes they can, more often, build something, create something, show us a demonstration of this particular area of knowledge. So let's get to that. What does a day in the life in my class look like? Well, a day in the life, sort of, the students have got their quest books, and they choose from their quests what they want to do for the next few lessons or the following week, right? So this is a biology unit. And if we have a look at it, we've got various sort of aspects they can do, right? So side quests are things they don't have to do. SQ, QV are core videos, so they have to do these. We see here they've got a choice straight up. This is the start of a unit, so there are alternative choices. And then you've got core experiments, and those are like our core quests, okay? So core experiments are experiments they have to do, again, these ones here, the side quests, they do those for extra points or extra credit. And, again, we've tried to give the kids as much choice as possible. Now, when a unit starts out, it's on rails kind of thing, right? Like you've got your main things that you have to do, and then you can do the odd side quest here and there to make it, if you want to sort of extend yourself. We have alternative tasks or alternative videos for students who wish to, try something different. Maybe one thing we're trying to do doesn't quite reach them, but initially the path is the same. They're learning the same content. But as we move further on, particularly in our senior years and our sort of upper end of juniors, so for us that's years 9 and 10, we allow them to have a bit more choice. Like they don't need to hit all of the same parts as every other kid. So students choose their quests for the following week or few lessons, and then they move from there into what it looks like in the daytime. So, like most flipped learnings, they're required to do some pre-learning and some organization. Okay, so students usually in their groups will choose their activities for the next few face-to-face sessions, and it's important. One of the things we're building here is we're building a bit of preparation, resilience, and ability to be independent. Okay, so students do the pre-learning they have to do, like they do with every other flipped learning class, but they also have to book or let me know any practical work or equipment they might want. And the reason they do this is because Group A might not be doing the same work as Group B. So I need to know what Group A wants to do. I need to know what Group B wants to do. And more importantly, the student needs to decide what they want to do, or the student's group needs to decide what they want to do beforehand. Like we're science teachers, right? So for us to book an experiment, we need a full 24-hour lead time, which means it's usually about, an extra 12 hours on that. So it's usually 36 hours. So like the night before, the students can't decide what they want to do the night before. They actually have to usually decide what they want to do on, the weekend before or the Friday before. And then we can sort of build up what each different group wants to do over that week. They also need to let me know if they need to do any assessments or show, if they want to book in a meeting with me to sort of show that, they understand a particular concept. So once the students have chosen what they want to do, the class time it's fairly varied, right? Because I said, essentially it's a mastery unit with a bit of extra stuff built on top, which we'll get to post-class. So during the class time, students are doing all sorts of things. We'll have some students say, we've got these students here, and they're kind of working on a, like a, what do we call it? Like a written task. We've got, these kids over here trying to blow something up, using chemistry. And we'll have other groups on, doing a research task. Some will be preparing presentations that they'll give to either small groups or classes, whatever they need to do. Again, at the very big, so it's pretty chaotic. But at the beginning of the unit, or the beginning of the year, the students will work fairly in lockstep. And as the game progresses, the students start to spread out into, different groups. So some will move ahead, some will make a different choice and decide to cover certain content areas in completely different ways. And yeah, now, just quickly as the teacher, the class time's kind of free for you. Like, you're just moving around, helping out and facilitating, and all that good stuff that we're always told is the magic. But it does require you to be. The workload is very front heavy. Like, there's a lot of you need to be organized at before you start this. So maybe if you're just thinking of getting into gamification, and what that is there's other videos for that, but this is sort of what the day looks like. Your day's kind of light in the classroom, because you've done all the prep work beforehand, and on top of that, you do have some work to do afterwards. So that sort of lighter class time where you're really moving around helping out, that it comes at a cost, but I think it's worthwhile. And that's where we get to our post-class. So this is me. I'm happy. So post-class looks like this. The teacher will mark or review work and apply points to the student tally. And for us, that's like a Google spreadsheet. And the points are for effort, They're not for achievement. That says not for. That's wrong. I'll just highlight the mistake. Let's do this. The points are for effort, not achievement. In other words, one, as long as the students have worked hard, and you've moved around, you've helped them out during that lesson, you saw how hard they were working. If a student has achieved what you think is reasonable for them, you give them the points for it. If a student who finds it really easy has done, has just sort of cruised through it, maybe don't give them the points. Maybe make them extend themselves, push themselves to do something better. So for us, there is post-class work, and that is mark and review and apply points. And look, some of it is very tick and flick. Some of it isn't. Some of it requires a bit of reading and a lot of feedback. It's all feedback. Students are getting feedback straight away, which is nice. And the students have post-class work as well, and that is to prepare for the next task, the next lesson. So for them, the post-class work is essentially just, flip learning videos, resources, whatever, that they need for the next thing, maybe do some research. But for us, it's probably a bit more involved. Again, there's work here, but I think, is really worthwhile. But that's what a day in my class looks like. It's working for us. Our students are showing improvement. They're showing engagement. They're quite liking that they have to make decisions, and we're actually getting some feedback that they sort of, are quite prepared when they go to uni now, because universities are around Australia at least taking on this style of learning. So yeah, anyway, that's what a day in my class looks like. If you have any feedback, jump back in, let us know. Any questions, put them in the comments below, and I'll get back to you as soon as I can. Thanks for watching. Bye now.